Mic check. Boom, 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 boom. Tell your friends we're live. We're starting very soon. The show's for you echo. That's right. Oh. All right, welcome all. Big up everyone. Big up Brother Leon. Big up everyone live in the place. Tell a friend we're live. Let us switch to the PDF that we find important. There it is. Aha. Welcome to the Betterment Broadcast. I am Rap Raven, Brother Raven, your host. This is the 217th episode. That's 217 times the community has come together to try to find solutions. Isn't that good? That's fantastic. Just a reminder, this show is for Black people. This show is for you guys, our community. We set aside time, a place where we come together to work on challenges, to find solutions, and hopefully that concept will spread throughout the interweb and people will do it themselves. So it's a cultural phenomenon. But it starts here. It starts with you. And we're going to move on. So don't forget to follow the Betterment Broadcast Instagram page. I shall put that in the links. I say every week I do a pour. I've been saying it for maybe 200 episodes how poor it is. There you go. Let's put that in there. Now we're going to start as we always start, and it's very important you understand, the strategies, the templates, and what we do here, and the frameworks. We'll be unpacking some more frameworks today from ancestors, from elders, and from contributors. We collate every useful information into one concept, and we push it out there in the internet land for us to teach and reach the people who need it. So let's start as we always start. That is the triple tragedies. What are those? Those are white supremacy, anti-black racism, and the Ma'afa. Oh dear, that's right. Those three things, they are triple tragedies. Now, when those three things work in tandem, that the history of those things that have really bombarded Black people for generations and generations, that accumulates into the double dilemma. Oh dear, which is we are despised and we are disorganized. And some people don't understand that. They're confused by such a concept, but we try to give you methods and to go out into the world to actually do the case study yourself. So when you come home, you go, you're right. We are despised and we are disorganized. What shall we do about it? I don't know what to do. Well, I should tell you what you shall do. You shall practice Black Betterment, the single solution. That's right. This broadcast promotes the single solution of Black Betterment. It's very plain, very straightforward. It's a lifestyle of Black people continuously helping Black people. And like I said, we big up all the brothers and sisters who week to week come in to contribute also behind the scenes. You are fantastic. You're important. We might not be the main person or the people needed to push the idea out there. We're just here to formulate that concept to get it sexy and ready for the world. And then others will come along and they will take this concept and they'll make it sexy for the world, and it will become normalized and culturalized, and it will be in every single household. And we've played our part. Like I said, it isn't about the individual, it's about the collective. So we don't need credit because success is credit. There you go. There it is. So we shall let's go to the let's see what's the next. Oh yeah. So we sent the link out. It should be pinned at the top of the forum. You can jump in whenever you like, but more so when we're talking about the actual topics. But don't forget, when you do jump in, especially when you work with Black people, please remember to the discipline, dedication, dignity, and discernment. We call those the 4D values. If you can use those 4D values as you communicate with other brothers and sisters, it might make communicating that a little bit more easier. It might minimize anxiety. Like I said, we're actually going to break down why you would do that and through one of the topics. So when we get there, we'll really unpack it. It's really important. I try to use derogatory language if possible, unless you're doing a case study about the actual language itself and where it comes from and why it was used. It makes it easier, because what tends to happen is people get comfortable using derogatory terms, and then they'll give someone a form of a happiness kind of talk, and then they might shift from happiness to sadness, but you can't tell because they're using the same languages. And before you know it, they're arguing, and we don't even know. Like, we have a 20-minute argument, we didn't even know, because they're using the same languages. See, this is the thing, confusion. So try to use constructive languages, especially when it comes to talk to Black people, if you can. All right. So what is today's fantastic topic about, I hear you say, in the internet land? Well, it's are all kinfolk. We discussed the rise of Kemi Badenoch. I don't think that must be. I think she's married to a European. I think she's taking his name. There you go. So that's what that is. And then part 2 topic is post-traumatic slave syndrome. Very important. We discussed how post-traumatic slave syndrome explains many bad choices Black people make. Yes, if you don't know, now you know, brother. So yeah, that's what we're going to unpack. But also, we are quite trendy with the news. And if those who are watching the TV will know that in the States, there was the presidential elections, and we had Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump, and Donald Trump won. And there is much people that weren't best pleased with that. He had some kind of show where there was racist, stuff going on in the show and stuff. And I think you also found that a lot of the Latin community, a big part of them voted for him. And then there was this say that maybe people didn't want to vote for a woman. That was a topic, or a Black woman in particular. And then there was a concept of, did she identify as Black when she was younger? Her father is Afro-Jamaican, I believe. Could be wrong, but that's what I understand. And her mother is Indian, and she then qualifies to be within the Black community, and then she can use the term Black. And but some people felt that maybe she wasn't connected. They were asking questions and didn't get an answer. I think one of the biggest problems that she might have had early in her campaigning was where she said she doesn't support to have particular laws that is just specifically for Black people, but she does have a particular laws for Asians, Jewish people, and homosexuals and asylum seekers. So I think that was one of the earliest oh dear moments. But definitely she seems to not be as controversial as Trump. But there is a strategy in the States at the moment from the grassroots, and that is only vote for people. And we're going to actually unpack that today. So maybe we should just go there. Well, maybe I have to stop talking about it and let's go to it. Let's do that. Let's just try to learn. So and by all means, it's not really a topic. We can have people jump in their thoughts on that, because obviously, with the whole political stuff, I've really grown up to be non-political until someone says something particularly about Black people. So I'll vote for anyone, if at all, if they have a policy that improves Black lives. And I think that is, I recommend that strategy. And I don't think I'm the only one. Let's see if other people who might follow the same thing. Let me see if I can find these. So there we go. Let's have a sneak peek. We're going to play some Claude Anderson, very important brother, master teacher here. Get his book. That's Blackonomics. Blackonomics. Maybe I should make a book called Blackonomics. No, Powernomics. Shame on me twice. Yeah, so very important, brother. Let's play some of his stuff, but I think he sets us out here. So let's have this.
I used to be the planner of Democratic conventions and stuff in '88, and also the consultant in '92. And I've always been a Democrat, but now I'm an independent. There's a new day in America. Said we don't give a darn about any party. It said any candidate, black, white, polka dot, stripe, chartreuse, green, anything. The only people we're going to support, and the only party we're going to support, are those people who will promise the most and deliver to Black folk. And we don't care what party you belong to. And once you start doing that, big money. Once you start playing that game and say we're outside, so now and say we're going to vote as a block. We're going to vote as a solid block only for those who would deliver for us. Only for those who put on the platform something about Black reparations. If you don't put anything, you're not going to get our vote.
So the brother there, and this was said many years back, but this is something that it looks like, because with the community stuff, it does take time to really get on code. But that's what he said. So I think there was many people who they were dealing with, as in they just wouldn't vote at all until something was said. I think one of the strategies in America that has happened quite a lot with the Black community is, there's two people going for president, and this one is not as bad as the other one. Vote for that one. Or maybe something like, well, we're going to try to take a look at things like drugs and prison reform and stuff like that, which is nice. but then it's always like going to the lowest end of society and this kind of stuff, and yeah, sometimes it comes across patronizing. But either or, happy to talk about this topic. Anyway, that's Dr. Claude Anderson. We've got a few. I think every week we should be playing certain master teachers out there who really specialize in fields, just for you to hear different things. Let's see what. Got a few other stuff that flowed on the internet. What's this one? Team sport. Here's another important one. Let's have a sneak peek at this.
I'll let them know that every group on this earth understands that you're in a team relationship. Racism is a team sport. It came into existence as a team. You play as a team or you lose by default. And only with black folk do people get upset when black folks start talking about coming together and uniting and working together and cooperating together, buying from each other and supporting each other. You know why? For a simple reason that everybody understands. When you come together and unify, that signifies strength. And right now, everybody right now is pimping and hustling black folk. They've been pimping and hustling black folk for 400 or 500 years. We spend approximately 97% to 98% of all our money outside of our own community, as an example. And we don't practice group economics. We don't practice group politics. All that makes, when we spend 98% of all our money outside of our community, what that does, it makes the other groups enriched. They now are living off of two incomes. They live off of 100% of their money and 98% of our money.
There you go. There's master teacher there. Racism is a team sport. Every group understands that except black people. Yeah, so that's why Black Betterment is here to teach that code, to understand that you have to think as a team. Like I said, collectively, it's a collective concept, and that's what we're doing. So let's have this other one that some people are confused by, but I'll unpack it because they're using this now in the States, as in to have a distinct ethnic group. And people have used this to actually as a form of division. But let's see if we can unpack it. Let's have open this one out.
That you talk about native blacks. And so that clearly sounds as if you are delineating native blacks versus someone that comes here from Bermuda or Jamaica or wherever they may they may come from that is black.
That's right.
And the purpose of that is what? Because you're on the surface, it would be like, hey, everybody here that's black gets treated a certain way. Why are you making that delineation?
That is an excellent point. You know why? Because you see, those people coming in from Jamaica or coming in from Africa, they have not been treated like black folk in this country. That's the first thing. And secondly, historically, they haven't had those historical spirits. They come in here voluntarily. When they come in here, they bring some cultural aspects from Africa. They can go back anytime they want. But the black people in this country are exceptional people. Nobody's been mistreated, maltreated like them. Black folk are exceptional. They're the only people that came here forcefully, one. Two, they're the only people that denied their humanity. Three, they were the only people denied a right to enjoy the fruits of their labor. Four, they were the only people denied the right to participate in government. Five, they were the only people denied the right to vote. Six, they were the only people denied the right to have an education. Seven, they were the only people denied the right to have a business. Eight, they were the only people that participated in every war that this country has had since its founding, but whose mother country has never been against this country. All those immigrants come from countries where they fought America, and they came in. And the seven, that they are the oldest and most patriotic people in the country. Not the Confederates in the South. They're not the most patriotic people waving the Confederate flag. The most patriotic people in this country are black people, native blacks, because you see 99% of all those blacks have been direct descendants of slaves. They've been here before 99% of all the other people ever arrived in this country. They are special people. And because they are special people, they need to be recognized, appreciated, and reparated for what they've done in this country and building this country. They're the ones that built the bridges, the roads, cut the timber, the trees, that cleared the land, raised the tobacco, cotton, indigo. They're the people that fought to raise in every war to protect this country. The people coming from Africa or coming from Jamaica didn't. They came here voluntarily. And the most important point on this is if you lump them with black folk, then you give the dominant white society a justification to say we don't owe black folk anything. Mm-hmm. Because you see, the blackness black people's blackness is more than just color. It is their heritage, it's their history, it's their code of conduct, and more importantly, it is their badge of honor, and it symbolizes the indebtedness that this country has to them. This country does not have an indebtedness to people coming from Africa. Mm-hmm. They don't have an indebtedness to people coming in from the Bahamas. Mm-hmm. If you lump black folk in there, you deprive black folk of the benefit, the debt that's owed them. Don't do that.
So what the brother's saying there is, because this is the basis of, I feel like the ADOS and the Foundation of Black American kind of argument and stuff. I think what the brother's saying there is that there's a unique claim for African Americans, or Native Black Americans, and if you have a person coming from Jamaica or Dominica or wherever it is, they cannot get the same claim from a lineage standpoint. I mean, you could argue about maybe people kidnapped from another land, but generally you don't get the same claim. And also it makes it easier to not want to give reparations to that group, because you say, well, why would I give reparations to a person from, say, Ethiopia or from South Africa in regards to the government of America in that particular claim? That's what he's saying. So if you ever come across that argument, that's what that is. And that's what the brother pushes. Now we're joined by welcome, Brother Leon. Is that Brother Leon?
Wavering, how you doing?
Good. Very good. How's it going? First time on the show, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, first time on the show. Yes.
Well,
yes.
you're always welcome, brother. And like I said, the way it works is we're going to play videos. If you got any questions or any kind of any statements, by all means, just say, "Can I speak?" And then we just have this, and then we can have back and forth whenever you want. Yeah.
Yes, Weber. Cool.
Good. All right, so let's see what else we got. So, I'm gonna play a few other videos before, and then I'm gonna go to our actual two topics. So let me see what we've got. So, what we tend to do is, as I'm going through the internet, videos come up, and I go, oh, let me give you a black Betterment perspective of this. So, here's a video I saw. Let's have.
Say this at the.
It's a film I haven't seen. This particular actor, I don't necessarily watch his stuff or find him particularly funny, but I'm sure he has fans. It's a good film. But they're making a joke. I thought, let me download this one.
No, and I say this at the risk of sounding a little racist. Black dudes love white women. Love them. Now, I don't know if it's genetic or if it's society. I mean, we can argue nature versus nurture all day, but it's a scientific fact that black men can't get enough of white women. And don't think that a woman of your age would be safe from their advances. No, ma'am. These big black bucks don't care whether you're young or old, skinny or fat, walking or with two wrinkled stumps right below the knees. They want your white flesh. They want it bad. Truth be told, I'm part black myself. And if it wasn't for my wife, I'd be bending you over the desk doing your doggy style right now. I can just imagine you there, all alone in that big condo, awash in a sea of Negro cock. I'll take it. Smart move. Just sign your Jane Hammer right in the bottle.
So I think this film, I don't know what it's about. If I'm trying to read between the lines, I think maybe he's a salesman and he's trying to sell a house, and this woman, he's either trying to scare her into not selling or something like this. And then he's using the concept of black men being in the area and loving white women, regardless of how they look, wheelchair, old, racist, whatever. So this film came in 2007. So interesting that you see black men be used as this kind of trope. It's definitely something we want to rage against. We want to obviously call out this kind of non-funny comedic jokes, but also put black women as the center of the black man's attention, so we don't have to focus on these kinds of so-called comedy. But I haven't seen this film. I don't know if it's a big film or not, but I came across, so I downloaded it. What else we got? Let's see, shall we? Who's that? Oh, so this is a quite good thing. This is a black dad. There's a dad. His son looks like it's like ice hockey. Or maybe it's boxing, but they have to have this kind of headset for the kids versions. And I think he's trying to psych his son up. So let's have a sneak peek.
So what? You get out there, you have a good time, but we're not going to do this. We're not going to do this. We're going to show this. You understand that? You break him down now. You get tougher right now. You get tougher right now. You check yourself. You fix you, and you get in there and you get tougher. I don't care about the result. I care about you getting there and performing the best you can. So
there you go, big up the father there. It's very important to have male role models in boys' lives. That's something definitely we promote and try to make happen. So big up that. What else we got? Should we watch that? So yeah, this will be the last video I play, 3 videos before we jump on the topic. But this would have been a topic before. Let me look at this one first. This one's actually more important. No, this one's quite important. So this is about Burkina Faso and the new rules. Let's have a sneak over.
Also has banned colonial wigs. These lawyers' wigs that they put on their head, and judges too, they wear them. But I want to ask, why do Africa still wear these wigs? After all the colonial era, we are still putting on these wigs. Well, the good news is that Burkina Faso say they don't want it anymore. They now have their own attire in the law court. Not only that, Ibrahim Traore also banned Western fabrics. So he banned all this okrika. You are seeing it there. He now approved their locally made fabrics to be used across the nation. And let me tell you, Burkina Faso has one of the best natural cotton. In fact, they have it in large quantity. The people of Burkina Faso, you guys are so blessed to have one of the best presidents.
Big up, yeah. So there was things from the legacy of colonialism and certain cultural concepts that doesn't really correlate with, I guess, what happens or happened in Africa. And I guess they're saying, well, it makes more a cultural and economic benefit to rebrand that way of operating and have a more Afro-centered look and feel. I think that's what we're working on. So big up that brother, and big up Burkina Faso. If that's what's going on, definitely support that concept. That is the last video before we jump into the topics. And this is came across a TikToker in the UK talking about why black men marry white women. So let's have a sneak peek at this, according to him.
Please tell Dr. Umar Johnson that black men in the UK are not going to be listening to his advice or his way of life when he's telling them to stay away from white women and to stick to black women. That is not going to happen. Black men in the UK are heavily dependent on the economic security that white women provide. Black men in the UK get into relationships with women. I'm talking about adult men, not teenagers who still live at their mum's house and don't have life pressures on them. I'm talking about adult black men in the UK get into relationships with women to find a place to live for free and to find a place where they haven't got to pay bills. That's why black men in the UK are in relationships with white women on mass amounts, on mass levels. Because white women will lie and do benefits fraud to basically allow her man to live with her for very long periods of time, 10, 15, 20 years, where he doesn't have to pay any bills and he doesn't have any big financial commitments. Black women are not having it. I'm telling you, as somebody that's been with black...
Part two.
After black, bro, I've been in relationships. My relationships have all been with black women. They're not allowed. They cannot respect a man. They cannot respect a black man. They cannot consistently have sex with a black man. They cannot love a black man. They cannot talk to a black man nicely. If he's had to move into her life and she's had to provide security for him, it will run out very quickly. He won't get longer than 12 months in that kind of situation. So when Dr. Umar Johnson is saying to black men, you need to stick with black women, he needs to go beneath the layer and start talking about black men's mentality and black men's attitude towards economics and towards family economics, basically. Man them get money, they buy loads of trainers, they buy loads of designer clothes, they go on holidays, they go to restaurants, they rent cars, they finance cars, they cheat on their girls by booking hotels and all of that. They spend their money like that, but they ain't spending no money on owning, possessing and maintaining a house in the UK. And because they're not doing that, they need white women.
Part three. Where's part three? Part three.
So I go on American social media. I follow a lot of black content creators in America, and I realized that a lot of black men in America, I don't know about in New York or in LA, but a lot of black men in different parts of America have houses, bro. That's part of their pride as a man, as it should be, to have your own house, to maintain your own house, and to fall in love with a woman that can walk into your security and you can provide for her. She doesn't have to worry about paying bills or how the house is maintained. That's what a lot of black men in America are on. In the UK, you must be joking. Black men are not on that. No way.
So this, I don't know his brother is, maybe he's a TikToker response to Dr. Umar's call. It says, yeah, so this came across, I gave my comment. At first I thought he was actually speaking on behalf of the black man as Muslim, but I think towards the end he's speaking against. I would like to think that. And obviously a lot of people weren't best pleased, or they were agreeing or disagreeing. But it's a very important topic to have, and maybe one we should have done a topic on, really. But it is what is elevating the high levels of black men in the UK. Not marrying black women or being attracted to the descendant of the enslaver or the white man, whatever it is. And I think today's topic might actually cover that. So we're going to segue to today's topic. I hope, and by all means, people can jump in and have opinions on that and talk. But where is the actual thing? Is it this one?
Yeah, Raven. Yeah, I just want to ask you that question. I just, I kind of made a video about that, self-hate in our community, like, why black man dating outside of ways and and prefer other women than black women instead of the like Asian, like they prefer Asian women. I just feel like um they see black women as a low self-esteem. I don't know what it is, or is it the attitude, or I just I don't know what's going on, because even I started to look within, and I started to get into myself, and I started to really appreciate black women, trying to accept black women, and it's hard. Even I'm trying to maintain it, but I don't know why other black boys is kind of like distance away from black women and not really appreciate for who they are, because you gotta know where you're from, but they kind of accept the other ways instead of their own black woman. It's like self-hate's going on in our community.
Well, you said it there, and the thing is, it's where our topic today, funny enough, is, if I can put it on screen. That's not the screen. Hold on, where's it gone? I have present, share screen, Windows, There we go. So yeah, so the second topic is post-traumatic slave syndrome, and I think that was very important. Is in, and what I'm going to do, because it will actually answer the sister who wrote this book, and we're going to use her
Yes.
framework. She goes over it quite well in this clip that we've got. So let me play it one first.
Excellent. And even I tagged you on the
Ever
video on
met-
Instagram, so that's like just made me jump in. Yes.
There you go. So let's have a sneak peek at what the sister said.
How many of you have ever met a black person that isn't black? A black person that will try to be anything else. Did I mention how much Native American I have in me? Oh, and I understand based on my DNA now that my people come from Switzerland. All of a sudden, anything that I can tell you that will convince you that I'm not black, right? And everybody black knows that. Well, I have another word for it. It's called post-traumatic slave syndrome. Post-traumatic slave syndrome is exactly what it sounds like. It's multi-generational trauma, intergenerational trauma, as it relates to people of African descent. Being separated from your native land, being beaten, being sold, being raped, being experimented on, any number of things. As an enslaved African woman, you had no rights to your own body. No rights at all to your own body. And it didn't start when you were a woman. That's the other kind of mythology when we talk about rapes. We're thinking about women. You think they waited till they were 18? You think few girls got to teenage years without having been raped? To imagine being a mother. Someone just comes in the middle of the night and says, we have some.
So basically, this is post-traumatic slave syndrome, and the sister is Joy McGree. I'm saying it wrong. Degree. There you go. Yeah, I posted the link there to find her work and stuff. But I think what this is more so for like people in the diaspora. But if we're going to talk about in the continent and the world, we could use the term post-traumatic Ma'afa syndrome or post-traumatic colonized syndrome, whichever term you want to use. But it is this concept of like what black people go through all over the world, where there's so much trauma, there's so much hatred that even when you think it's past, in the branding and the propaganda that happens, where everything is anti-black. When we talk about the double dilemma, and we're talking about, let's go back on the screen. So when we talk about the double dilemma, so when we start, we say white supremacy, anti-black racism, and the Ma'afa, which is kidnapping, genocide, segregation, enslavement, colonization, brainwashing, and sabotage, all that. And it's even more. The Mangamingzi, I think I'm saying that wrong, but that's what they use. Mangamingzi. I'm saying it wrong. It's Swahili. Shame on me twice. But all these concepts, these are ongoing things that never end, and we adapt within them. And sometimes we don't even know we have self-hatred. So, for example, if a man was to walk up to a woman and he's gone through a life of hating himself, hating his skin, hating without even knowing it, as in he's already got a gold medal, silver medal, and bronze medal in his head by what he's been taught. To expect that person to value himself and value his women might be even more challenging. You see, now especially if that person feels that having the daughter of the enslaver as a sign of like that he's qualified, or that he can be welcomed, or he's achieved something. All these things happen, and that's why for us we have to have that conversation and say that when we say love has no color, we have to shut that down and go, actually, Love does have a color. Black love has a color. It's black, and we're not on the same kind of ground to have these conversations where we can say, yeah, just see what happens. Go out there and find love, whatever. And that's why we have to brand. And the thing is, when you practice Black Burman, you naturally start seeing yourself and your women and your community as amazing. Yeah. Now you understand the shortcomings, right? But you understand where they're coming from, and you can actually try to work with people with the shortcomings, make them better. But in the small collective groups you form smaller groups of people who understand. We call them the important. Yeah. And with them, you are looking to build families, to build structures, to build institutions that fix the legacy of post-traumatic slave syndrome, you see. And that's very important. That was a very quick let's go part 2 skip on the post-traumatic slave syndrome, but it's something I'm going to be using a lot. And when I'm talking about Black people as a whole, I mean, we could use the same term, or we could use post-traumatic Ma'afa syndrome, just if you want to talk about Black people as a whole, because it's all intertwined. All like they're the same challenges that you might get in say in America, you might find in UK, in Canada, in Africa, in some form, some legacy of the Ma'afa that makes. I mean, just like we just witnessed the brother there in Burkina Faso, where because they were colonized, they were wearing European wigs and European cloths to look like European judges or whatever, and no one really asks why we're doing this. So should we really continue these particular practices? Or we can also, if good ideas will push forward, so be it, you can continue them. But can we Africanize it? Can we Afro-center these concepts so we're not always 2 steps behind us following and this kind of stuff, right? So that awareness is important. But the ancestors have told us this. The old scholars have told us this. Be Black-centered, Afro-centered in the things you do, and be aware of what has contributed to your self-hatred. And also, if you see patterns like the people group who were trying to marry the daughters of the people who destroyed them, this has to be a problem. That something has to be going on, that we haven't rectified something, and we have to immediately jump on and come with the countermeasure to try to reverse that. It's very important. Some sisters say, well, you know what? If a Black man doesn't want me, why are you begging them? It's not about begging them. It's about literally creating the environment and the foundations for people to wake up and to realize what's going on. And in that process, we can break that kind of problematic thing. Now, what the gentleman said in the video was Black men are so conquered in the UK, apparently, that they will live with a European woman who will lie for them and allow them to live in her house for 14 years, whatever it is, about paying rent. No doubt that does go on. But this is once again, if you're aware of this, we have to push some kind of masculine principle in a man's head to where that isn't the appealing way of living, where you're living off a woman and not contributing to building a foundation. It is a mess, really, to think about, right? And it's a conversation we should be having. It's very important, and hopefully we can do that now with the youth now to let them know that isn't the way to learn a craft, learn a trade, try to learn from others, and put protecting Black women as a value, and Black families and Black children as a value, something that you will be credited for and remembered for and honored for. You see, because unfortunately there are some brothers out there, in some, not all, but some, where they value certain other things. They might value not working, or value selling narcotics to certain people, or value drinking and these kinds of things, right? And that becomes the ultimate value. But we need to shift that into something that's more sustainable, something that's more beneficial to Black people. And that is Black Burman. If you didn't know, now you know. We are promoting the lifestyle Black Burman. There you go. So I hope that answers your question, brother Leon. It was a bit long-winded, but I hope it answered some of your question.
That's just lovely. That's excellent.
So now we're there. We're going to move on to the first topic, which is our all skin folk, kinfolk. And this comes from the Conservative Party, I believe, have now pushed a Black woman to be the head of them. This might be a strategy, I suspect it is. But we're going to look at some kind of, we're going to see who she is and what has and hasn't happened. That's not the one. So let's find the video, and give me 7 seconds to play, and then I'll just have to quickly dash next door for something. So number one, is it this one? No, it's not that one. It's this one. No, it's not that one. It's this one. Found you. So many videos. Oh yes. Let's go.
Past. We need to talk about the future. There are many countries now who want to use guilt to try and exploit the UK. They ask for reparations. I saw it as a trade minister. It's not culture wars. I was at the WTO. I won't name the minister from another country. And he was telling me that we needed to give up some of the things that we were doing because of colonialism and because they needed time to develop. These arguments are a scam. Don't fall for it. We need to make sure that we put this country first. We work well with our neighbours. We work well with other countries. But we have to look after ourselves too.
Well, I mean, those advocating for reparations would say, shouldn't we just make up for some of the damage we did through the slavery? As a black woman saying that, they may find that hard to understand from you.
Well, there are many things that the British Empire got wrong, but there are many amazing things that the British Empire also did. And we need to be honest about that and stop pretending that it was all bad. The British Empire ended slavery, the Atlantic slave trade. We need to talk about that more.
She's not there to represent us. Kemi is there as a puppet. No this and no peace. Yeah. They've put Kemi there to make it look like, oh, a black woman. Because they know how to get to us. So they've put Kemi in the forefront. But Kemi is just there as a face. And then they try to want us to fall for it. Obviously, a lot of people know this, but I'm just saying it to the people that don't know this. But Kemi is just there. There are so many people, there are so many layers at the top that they are controlling Kemi because she's a puppet. Okay? So she's not there to represent us. And when I say us, women, like I said, black women, Nigerian women, anything black in general, Kemi is not there to represent us. So
Brother Evan, are you still there?
Family, yeah, family. I have been talking for a good minute, and I and my microphone was muted, and I put a note saying unmute, but I've put my glasses over the note, so I I said some really good points that I'll never be able to do again. But I think Kushti said tested, I should have worked out. So let me start again. Big up, Brother Leon. If it wasn't for Brother Leon, I would be waffling for another half an hour. So this very important brother there. Thank you, family. You done good. So what I was saying was the video ended. Oh, did I pause the video? Hold on. Yeah, so I did. What I was saying is the video there, Kemi, the sister who's becoming the conservative. What you find is that historically, back in the days, I think the brother's gone now. Can you hear me? Brother, come back when you can if you still have questions. If you guys can hear me, let me know. I've unmuted it, but I was talking for a good long time and it was off. So sorry about that. And I ignore my note, but I'm here up. Yeah, good night. Take your time, brother. Like I said, anyone can jump on. That's the good thing about Black Band Broadcast. Come and go as you please. It's a living room for the community. But what I was waffling to myself while the thing was muted was that when you're young, you might do things like your dad, your mother might say, you're a black person, you're a black girl, you're a black woman, black guy. You might have to work 2 to 3 to 4 times harder than everyone else, unfortunately, because of just the way society is, and Well, that could work as if you're a plumber, as in you might have to be twice as good as the other plumbers. Maybe if you work in an office, you have to be twice as good. Who knows? But then if you're trying to work for a company that is anti-racist or has anti-black racism as part of their kind of hidden agenda or out there agenda, then if you're going to work for them, you might have to then do that 4 times better than anyone else. And there's also that strategy of letting someone else speak against their own people, so you don't have to. As we see here, you see what I was playing there. What was these gentlemen like really agreeing, like, oh yeah, look at it.
Well, I mean, those
she's really good. This woman, she knows what she's talking about. You see that kind of stuff, and then obviously the whole setup there is like, well, what about people who say racism is bad?
May find that hard to understand from you.
Well,
we say I will download the app. What app's that, brother? You mean YouTube? Sure, yeah, if it makes it easier, but you're always welcome back anytime. But you can have it on your phone, have it on the PC. It should be easy to join. So the brothers asking, the Germans, they're saying, what about race? What about people who said that slavery was bad and we should pay for that what we did? And she goes, no, it's a scam. The British Empire did good things and bad things. And what I was saying was that what is somebody saying? My father, he killed a whole lot of children, but he also built a nursery. That is good, but then you kind of still need to go to jail, don't you? Because the latter doesn't excuse the crime. Whichever way it was done, whether he built the nursery first or built the nursery second, you've murdered children, you go to jail. You have to pay for that. So we got the brothers back. So I think,
yes.
Welcome back, brother. Welcome back. It's good to hear you. You're a good thing there, brother. I was talking to myself and you reminded me that my mute was on. So 10 points to you. Very important.
Thank you.
You're welcome, family. But so this is what I'm saying. So with this sister here, this is what seems to be happening. Once again, it could be a strategy. But I don't just want to speak bad against the sister. There was a brother who's actually got a African. He's a brother. I think one parent's European, one parent's Nigerian, and he's moved to Kenya or somewhere, East Africa, I think. And I think he's married an African woman, which is 10 points to him. And I think he's got an African clothing label. I don't know his kind of political affiliation, but he was more, I think, somewhat not defensive, but he seemed to try to give a different opinion about stuff. Let me see if I can find him. But he did highlight a lot of the complaints about her from other people. So we'll watch his video. I think it's this one. Boom, boom, boom.
About our colonial past. Every country in the world, at one point or another, either colonized or attempted to colonize another group of people.
She does believe that some cultures are more superior to the others.
So which cultures, in your view, are less valid than others?
Oh, Lots. Cultures that believe in child marriage, for instance.
When it comes to her policies, I believe that not all skin folk is kinfolk, as they say in America, you know.
A lot of people know that I grew up in Nigeria, and that is one of the things that fundamentally shaped my view of the world.
I'm reluctant to want to claim her as a Nigerian because this is not what...
Why are you reluctant, Mr. Steve?
Because she doesn't appear to see herself as one.
There are many things that the British Empire got wrong, but there are many amazing things that the British Empire also did. And we need to be honest about that and stop pretending that it was all bad.
That if you conduct a referendum or a poll, particularly among Nigerians or among blacks of African descent in the UK, I doubt if she will be very popular.
A couple of days ago, I released a video on glass ceilings in the West for black people. And I cited Kemi Badenoch, the new leader of the Conservative Party in the UK, as someone who's broken through glass ceilings. I really didn't have any political angle. I really didn't have an angle on whether or not she's a good person, or she claims this or she claims that. I just was highlighting the fact that she's risen to a position of prominence that no other black person has ever risen to before in the UK. I think that is one hell of an achievement, and I'm very happy that UK has been able to get to a place where they can accept a black person in such a position. Now, I noticed that in the comments section, there was another discussion happening, all about, can we claim her? You know, there was a lot of back and forth about, she's not for us, she doesn't represent us. And this is how a lot of black people seem to feel. It's not everyone, but there is a lot of that sentiment going around. This was also double stamped when a big back and forth conversation happened in my main WhatsApp friend group. For those of you that don't know, my name is TJ. I moved to Uganda a year and a half ago from the UK. I've grown up in the UK most of my life, but my early life was...
I think that's his wife. If that's his wife, 10 points to the brother, 10 points for going there and starting a fashion label. Obviously, he's got some views, and maybe his views are correct. Maybe he's a merciful brother. So let's have a sneak peek, listen to what he said. But big up the brother for doing what he's doing.
Spent in Nigeria. My dad is Nigerian. He's a Yoruba. My mum is a white English lady. This is my wheelhouse. I lived in Nigeria at the same time period that Kemi lived in Nigeria. There are many similarities from Kemi's journey to the UK and my family to the UK. I have 3 older sisters, all who were teenagers, just like Kemi was at the same time when we moved from Nigeria to the UK. So with that being said, who is she? Let's find out what she's all about.
A lot of people know that I grew up in Nigeria, and that is one of the things that fundamentally shaped my view of the world. I was born in Wimbledon, but till 16, that's where I pretty much lived with bits and bobs in the US. And one of the things that worries me is that we take this country for granted. Other countries which aren't doing well, it's not because the people there are stupid. It's bad ideas, bad culture, bad policies.
She'll never talk about the influence of the nations that she's pushing forward, and I think that's important, that you're gonna have that kind of balance. You've got to big up Lara. I think it's Laura. I can see it. My screen's very small. Let's see what she says. She says, she, Kemi, was handpicked by the oppressor. Nothing special about that. Yeah, this goes on. And we can see it. But when the sister's given her analysis, Kemi, that is, she will talk about bad ideas and bad countries, and which happens. She won't talk about puppet leaders. She won't talk about corruption that forced by proxy wars, or anything like that. It's just, but I guess that's part of the hiring process. And that's why she's at the very top. In order for a black woman to get the very top, you must think, what has she to do? What must she turn her back on, or ignore, or highlight? And I think we're seeing it in 3D at the moment.
And that is what destroys countries. And we are very lucky here. The things that happened, the path that we took in the UK, in a lot of...
Naturally, there's always the kind of free ticks that I was putting in the groups, and that is... normally, if you want to get there, you have to, speak against something that's, for example, reparations or police reform, speak against that. You shouldn't bring anything forward that's particularly for black people. That's a no-no. And the third one, you have to marry a European person, which this sister has definitely done. So you see, these are the kind of like the play-by-play book of how to do these kind of things.
Western Europe in the US is something that is rare. Most countries have gone wrong by doing other stuff. And so my conservative beliefs come from those fundamental principles. And it's why the campaign that I'm running is starting with principles first. Equality under the law. I cannot explain just how critical it is. Making sure everybody is treated exactly the same. Doesn't matter what you look like, where you come from, what your status in society is. That you'll go in front of a judge and it's equal before the law. Things like the concept of being innocent until you're proven guilty. It is quite a radical concept. Many places are you're guilty, prove that you're innocent. It totally changes the way a culture and a society works. Growing up without constant electricity means I'm very paranoid about energy. That is why I'm a net zero skeptic. I know what it's like when the lights don't turn on, and it's another thing we take for granted. Energy is growth. And this is why when I asked
this brother's channel is called the Subi Shop, so check him out. Also, if you're watching his videos, you give him support. His politics might be slightly off to mine. I'm not too sure. I'm trying to work that out. But big up the brother for going back to Africa, having an African wife, and send African COVID. Big up the brother.
People to support me, it's not because we know exactly what the energy policy is going to be in 2029. We need to look at what the world looks like then. It's what kind of person is Kemi? Which direction is she going to take us? Where are her convictions? I grew up under a military dictatorship. So I wasn't dreaming about, one day you're going to be president or prime minister. The people who ran the country were soldiers, and they were very visible. The the state governors were soldiers. The equivalent of a Ron DeSantis was, a Navy captain and things like that. And that was just what life was. I mean, what is amazing is that I'm here at all. And I did not even know that I had British citizenship until I was about 14. So lots of people think, oh, you were born here to get the citizenship. They don't understand that story of empire, that story of the Commonwealth. And people say, oh, you can't possibly be British, you have to, the ethnicity is all wrong and so on. And I challenge them and say, you don't realize that for 150 years, there were people from here going to other countries saying, you are all British now. You're British, you're part of the British Empire. And that doesn't just...
That's something that's very, very important to many kind of like brothers, sisters who get in the government. You saw that last brother, I forgot which one it was because my memory's jumpy at the moment, but he wanted to be seen as English even though he's Afro-Jamaican, and he was fighting, and then the English people saying, you can't be English. English is an ethnic group. Obviously, she's talking about being a nationality, I believe. I like to think so. But yeah, that's where it ends up going. Like, you want to be. I guess this segues really well into the post. I think the sister said it, Sister Joy, about the post-traumatic slave syndrome or the post-traumatic Martha syndrome, because not everyone was necessarily enslaved, but there were many brothers and sisters in the continent who were. That's another thing that we don't really talk about. But you sound like anything but black, anything but African, anything but Yoruba, but we'll carry on.
Disappear because that goes away, that there is a legacy that comes from that.
David Lammy is his name. Big up, Simon. This is why it's a very important show. My brain will always fry, but I know you guys were here to help me out time after time. Big up, brother Simon there. Yes, it was David Lammy jumping on the TV shouting he wants to be English. He wants to be the white ethnic group English. That's what he wants to be. And no doubt that brother himself has married a European woman, so it all adds up, but let's carry on.
So she grew up in Nigeria till she's 16. 16 is an incredibly impactful time on your life, right? Your teenage years. For example, they say that the music you listen to at 16, 17 is going to be your favorite music for the rest of your life. So we now understand the lens by which we're talking. She's explained who she is, and she also explained what she stands for, what she believes, equality under the law, and she touches on a few things that give you a window into how she perceives Nigeria versus the UK. If there's anybody here that's Nigerian, they understand about power going out. NEPA, the power company. In fact, up until I came to the UK, I thought electricity was called NEPA. To this day, Nigeria still has a problem with blackouts. Now, that was true in the 70s and 80s, in the era that Kemi's talking about when she was there, and it is still true today. For me, that is an absolute crime, that in the past 40 years, Nigeria cannot get its act together so that there's consistent power for its people. When you're coming from that background, and you go to a place like UK, where there's power constantly, it is very easy to take it for granted. I took it for granted because I feel it so badly when the power goes out here. And it happens maybe once a week, once every couple of weeks. And even just that amount lets me know, man, it's good for infrastructure to work properly. I don't know what Kemi went through in Nigeria up until the age of 16. But let me just touch upon a couple of things that my family have been through being in Nigeria at that period of time. My mum talks about going through hyperinflation, where you get your paycheck on a Friday. She was a school teacher, and she would go directly to buy food.
Those listening, we're looking at Kemi Badenoch, saying her name wrong, sorry. And we look at this gentleman who is the CB shop, giving his analysis and how maybe people should be not as harsh to her. And we've listened to some other Nigerians who are not best pleased with her behavior patterns. And we're just having a listen. And obviously we're joined by brother Leon, and we're joined by sister Laura and Simon and Empress Kush and the others in the background listening, who all contribute to the show. Because if they wasn't here, my mute microphone would be on all day and I wouldn't even know. So that's why I support we have live guests. Let's go.
With the entire check, because within a few days, the price of food would go up and you wouldn't be able to afford it with that week's check. There was a period where the naira and the pound were at parity. The currency has been totally annihilated versus the pound and the dollar. Another thing that our family went through, and many other families that we know went through, is things like armed robberies, a highly traumatic experience that many Nigerians understand and have been through. And there are countless stories of police harassment. A few years ago, we saw people marching around the time of the Black Lives Matter movement, going against police harassment. That was just a few years ago. An old school friend of my sister called my sister and told a story of how she spent a night in jail. And my sister said, what happened? And he said, oh, well, I pulled up at the traffic lights in my car and the policeman came and knocked on the window and said, you didn't stop at the line. Basically, he was looking for a bribe. And she said, well, I'm not giving you a bribe for not stopping at the line. And one thing led to another, and she ended up being arrested and taken to jail because she didn't give a bribe and she didn't stop at the line. And my sister said, why didn't you just stop at the line? Why weren't you compliant in the first place? When you get to the red light, you stop at the line. And she said, the road is a dirt road. There is no line. And that should just frame the kind of experiences that some people go through growing up in Nigeria. Now, Nigeria has a lot.
So what his brother's doing, he's actually just giving it, so obviously he's trying to give a context of why the sister is appreciative of living in the UK, as he is appreciative, even though he's actually moved back to Africa. I suspect he's doing some kind of work there as well, some kind of creative work. And he's saying that, and there is an argument, I do get the argument that, you know, you have to want better for yourselves and you have to like really appreciate what you have here. But what a lot of the scholars always say is, why is it that way here? What has happened to allow these European countries to have this consistent kind of power, this consistent structure? And what's happened to Africa or other places to have them this kind of like this unstable kind of light structure or government structure or any structure in any case. And yes, no excuses. You want betterment, you want people to improve, and you want to be tough, and I agree with that. But sometimes what you don't want to do is you don't want to start using European as the shining light of all goodness, and then Africa as the dark ages of all backwardsness, which I've heard are very many unsynchronized Nigerians in the UK on TV when they jump on them kind of like GB channels say, they use those terms without having context and you know and understanding, you know, because you start, like I said, my phone is buzzing off now because usually I go through the internet and I see a whole lot of algorithms of a black man with a white woman with a black man, and there's a whole lot of arguments. And I just jump in, do you support reparations? And that usually gets me 400 comments by white men who've got black wives in their comment, and they go, how dare you, how dare you? Matter of fact, look, some guys just literally ripped me look at this, you can see it now, I'm talking about 10 paragraphs about whatever he's talking about after hearing my statement. And that's because they're automatically synchronized to defending Europeans. So when it comes to me asking for you've married this black woman and say you've got beautiful children and black women are, this, that, the third, whatever. But what's your views on the people of the woman and putting reparations for the country she comes from? And they forget the woman's nation, the woman's ethnic group. It's now, I must defend Nordic people, European people, white people. That whole thing comes, and it's completely. There isn't one. I repeat, there isn't one European person that I've ever come on who's jumped in the comments and go, "We support reparations. You're right." They go straight to, "No, how dare you, you stingy person! If your reparations go," and they say, "Go to Africa. Ask them for your reparation. Ask your own people." They use these kind of terms, so they're very good at getting code. And this is what I'm saying. When we start talking, we have to understand why code is important. And I suspect this brother, he is correct in certain things he's saying, but I suspect he's going to go down a path where he isn't on code as we might be beneficial, but I could be wrong. Let's have a sneak peek.
Not going for it. I'm a proponent of coming back to Africa. I love the idea of the growth of Africa. I'm for the idea of the growth of Africa. But let's call a spade a spade. There are massive problems in Africa. And there are many Nigerians that are in the UK that have no intention of ever stepping foot back in the continent of Africa.
That is a problem. It's a big problem from people from the diaspora in Africa and the Caribbean. Where they leave the country and they completely lose interest. I have spoken to a few Ethiopians, big up the Ethiopians, where, and maybe Eritreans as well, I could be wrong, where they have like systems in place that when they get paid wages, it goes back to help build up the country and stuff. But generally, this is an issue that you'll deal with. I think they were saying that when Japanese people, Korean people will go to the States or wherever, they'll go there to learn, not to marry the women there and stay there and send back help. So you need to be very particular and very direct with what you're trying to achieve. Or, like I said, the post-traumatic slave syndrome will make you forget everything and just want to be Europeanized, like the topic of the show of the woman at the moment.
They've had enough. They got out and they went through whatever they went through in Nigeria, of which they were left traumatized, and they do not want to deal with the corruption, which is another massive problem over there. And they're like, we're happy to be British. Our kids are British, and we don't want anything to do with that.
I suspect that could be true when you're like, I have seen some people who went to Nigeria or some other places, and maybe some of the corruption of the police, the bribing that I haven't been there myself, but I've been told, and maybe some of the politicians, has given a bad taste. Either way, there's a history of why that is. It doesn't mean you literally, you throw everything out, you throw the baby out of the bathwater, and then just become an English ethnic person who marries a European and never does anything for anyone of a black background. Quite extreme term from not being best pleased with your government that was created by the people you best love.
That is just the reality of what it is. When you go to UK and you talk to Nigerians, many of them have the attitude of, why would I go back there? That country couldn't give me power. It couldn't keep me safe. It didn't give me the things that I...
That's exactly why you would go back there, because you're trying to fix. This is betterment. It's like, this is what I'm saying about being inadequate, right? Someone comes along, they corrupt your country, they corrupt your people. They live off for many generations of the fruits that they've taken from you guys. And then you now are an opportunity where you can actually learn and bring back, but you don't. Instead you say, well, they're all backwards there. I'm gonna marry the descendant of the enslaver. I'm gonna stay in that country and I'm gonna do everything to better that country and not the country I came from because they're backwards. Think about that. This is a inadequate way of operating, and if I want to destroy people, I will do that. And let me destroy that person now and make them always look at the faults that I've caused as their issue, and then they're going to come around to me saying, help us from ourselves. And that is a strategy. It's a very good one. It works quite efficiently as we demonstrate.
I needed when I needed it. So I got out. I'm not down for the corruption. Let's not pretend that there's not many Nigerians trying to jump up and leave Nigeria and start better lives in Canada and America and UK and etc. So let's hear some of the commentary around what people are saying, the Nigerians are saying about Kemi.
One thing I will say about Kemi is that the new leader, Kemi Badenoch, the new leader of the Conservative Party, is that when it comes to her policies, I believe that not all skin folk is kinfolk, as they say in America. You know, she does believe that some cultures are better superior to the others. You know, she has had her views when it comes to multiculturalism, when it comes to immigration, that sometimes are not kind to her skinfolk. But what do you think, Mr. Steve?
First black woman to lead a major party in the UK. That's a big deal. I believe she'll be about the sixth woman, isn't it, that will be the leader in that country, particularly for the Tories. But you know, so that's the big deal part of it. I'm reluctant to want to claim her as a Nigerian. Because this is not what...
Why are you reluctant, Mr. Steve?
Because she doesn't appear to see herself as one. I think that she thinks that she was from here, you know, but she carries on. And not only does she carry on as a Briton, and she is within her right to do that. But then I won't be a big fan of anyone who talks down on where they're from. Yes. And I think that seems to be what she represents. She's fond of doing that.
She recently said, that when she was younger, she was good in math and sciences, and they told her to get into the kitchen. And I'm like, I don't know any, she comes from a family of intellectuals. I don't know any young woman who grew up being good in school, coming from a family that your parents are lecturers or in the medical field, and they'll tell you to get back into the kitchen. I think that's a Western image.
So welcome to Betterment Broadcast. If you're joining, this is our all skin folk king folk. We're looking at Kemi Badenoch, and we're looking at a brother from Cebu Shop who's reviewing it. He seems to be quite defensive of her. Brother himself Nigerian. We give him props. He's married to an African woman based in Africa. He's moved back there and he's started, I think, some kind of fashion label. So we always give props there, but his politicking might be slightly different from what I would recommend, but I could be wrong. And he's showing some videos of how Nigerians are treating the sister after her behavioral patterns on going on TV and not being supportive of very important black concepts like reparations and so forth. We also looked at post-traumatic slave syndrome. This is actually all connected, by the way, and it's a word I'll be using a lot. Is it PTSS maybe? Post-traumatic slave syndrome, and I might also use post-traumatic Martha syndrome, just as a bigger context of every black person in the world. Just makes it easier. But big up Kane Black as well. Big up the brother. Let's carry on listening. Remember, if you get any questions, anyone, feel free to jump in. It's now's your time. We've gone past the hour mark, so we're gonna listen to this, and then we're going to see what happens after.
Painted of Nigerian society rather than an authentic representation of what Nigerian society is.
Correct. And when she says that, when she sounds traumatic about why she left Nigeria, at 16, and I believe that should be around 1996 when we were still, under the military. I do not know the things that she encountered that, made her leave on the one hand, and then make her talk in the manner that she talks, about Nigeria and about her experiences in Nigeria. I find that worrying for somebody who wants to lead a major party and who ultimately, when she's seeking for votes, to be the prime minister, will need to speak to Nigeria. It looks to me that if you conduct a referendum or a poll, particularly among Nigerians or among blacks, of African descent in the UK, I doubt if she will be very popular.
So this gentleman is right. He doesn't know what she went through when she left Nigeria. Like I said, my family's been through armed robbery, police harassment, right? Not to mention just the normal things that are accepted, power outages, all of the hassle and corruption that you have to face when you're dealing with Nigeria. It's a beautiful place, but it's uncomfortable compared with the standards of other countries in many regards. This is not to be disrespectful to Yoruba culture and their history, but you have no idea what she went through. Many Nigerians know what was going on and what still goes on in Nigeria that is unfair for many. There's this guy, David Hoima, who's in hiding. This guy has had to flee the country for exposing corruption on the highest levels. Nigeria's got a long way to go before we can call it any type of paradise, or it can even match up to the most advanced countries in the world. Now, those countries have their problems, yes. But if we were to line up everybody and say live under these conditions or live under UK's conditions, I think many people would choose UK. Now, just to clarify, I believe the UK has peaked. It's no longer the place of the future, which is why I'm back in Africa. But it's still up there. Everything infrastructurally still works. Trains may be late, but
I think this guy's in East Africa. He's married an East African wife. I want to say Kenya, Uganda, or Tanzania. One of them kind of places.
they work. What's your experience of catching a train in Nigeria? And if you're going to come out and say that she believes not all skin folk are kinfolk, then you must quote her accurately. You must quote her accurately. The accusation given there was that she feels that some cultures are superior to other cultures. Let's go to what she's referencing, the wording used.
Now, you've written this morning about immigration, and you write that we cannot assume that all cultures are equally valid. So which cultures, in your view, are less valid than others?
Oh, lots. Cultures that believe in child marriage, for instance, or that women don't have equal rights.
Okay, what's wrong with that? And what has that got to do with skinfolk? What's that got to do with kinfolk and skinfolk?
I think they're talking about the reparations concept, as well as how she got into being a conservative leader.
Who is raising their hand in Nigeria asking for child marriage? Who is raising their hand asking for women to not have equal rights? What's wrong with that? Okay, she's about to clarify further, but the term that she used was not superior. She said valid. She's saying, I do not accept these elements of certain people's culture. Child marriage is one I don't accept. What's wrong with that? Women not being treated equal is one I do not accept. What's wrong with that? She didn't say anything about being superior, and she didn't say anything about race or color.
I actually think it's extraordinary that people think that's an unusual or controversial thing to say. Of course, not all cultures are equally valid. I don't believe in cultural relativism. I believe in Western values, the principles which have made this country great. And I think that we need to make sure that we continue to abide by those principles.
The challenge you're going to have is, even though she might agree with that, how she looks past some of the most traumatic, devastating things that has happened, and how those have impacted the light in her country, the corruption in her country, the naming of her country, the ability for the country to trade or not trade. These are very huge things that seems to be bypassed. And obviously, this is what you have to do to become a leader in a party in the UK, but we have to have a bigger context. Big up, Brother Dominic, very important contributor.
To keep the society that we have now.
So which particular cultures then would you say are less valid? Because as you've said, your words, not mine.
Still trying to trap her in the same concept. A semantic game. A semantic game. She's trying to trap her, shifting the intent of what she said.
Some people think that that is a controversial thing to say. So which cultures would you specifically say are less valid than others?
So it's not about labeling cultures. Culture includes a lot of things. I'm not talking about cuisine. I'm talking about customs.
So she can be at home eating amala and eba. She could be at home eating amala and eba.
I don't think she's ever brought that, but I get your point. I think she was talking about sausage, bacon, and eggs or something. I could be wrong.
Listening to Sunny Ade. It's not about that aspect of culture. It's about the principles of fairness for all, regardless of skin color. Things like child marriage. And if there are communities that are moving into the UK that have those types of values, we don't want them. That's what she's saying.
I think that cultures where women are told that they should not work, I would knock on doors. I'm sure Penny and Jake had this. You'd knock on doors and you'd see somebody at the door who says, oh, I can't speak to you, I will get my husband. I don't think that's as equally valid as our culture. But the point I was making in the op-ed was about immigration. That immigration is something which we need to make sure we get right. We didn't before. And there were three things I said we needed to do. One, numbers matter. I was quite surprised that Rob actually misrepresented what I've been saying. Numbers do matter. Culture matters even more.
Those join us, we're looking at a breakdown case study of Kemi Badenoch. I can probably say that all wrong all day. And yeah, we're just in the case study that the sister's now become the head of the Conservative Party. And she said a lot of controversial things. And the question is, are all skin folk kinfolk? That was the kind of quote. And with this hat, and this brother seems to be very pro her understands her methodology, and he's trying to give his 10 pence piece.
Who comes into the country is absolutely critical, and leadership. You need to start from the top. It's no good simply saying we're going to lower immigration and outsource it. It has to come very much from the Prime Minister himself or herself.
Are you saying, though, that if somebody in their culture who lives here in the UK, who might be a British citizen, who answered the door to you and said, I won't speak to you, I'd like you to speak to my husband instead, are you saying, you have said their culture is less valid, are you saying that people with those beliefs shouldn't be welcome in the UK?
I mean, she's just explained it. You're pushing back into this narrative. And this is what I hate about politics today, is that it's all about spin and narrative. I want to support someone based off what someone's actually trying to communicate, not a fabrication or a shift or a spin of what they said. Listen very closely to what she's saying and let's judge her on that. If what she says is bad, then let's kick her out. But I don't want to judge her based on your filter of what she said. Listen to what she says.
I am saying that if we want to have a well-integrated society, we need to make sure that we have a shared culture and a shared identity. This is a multi-ethnic society. That's obvious. I'm a black woman sitting here talking to you. But there is a difference between being multi-ethnic and being multicultural. I grew up in a place that was multicultural, and yet everybody looked the same. Conflict arises when you emphasize difference. We need to emphasize the thing that we share. Being British, British values, the things that we talked about, freedom, equal rights, personal responsibility, not discriminating people because of their sexual orientation. There are some cultures that do that. I don't think that a culture that thinks gay people should be stoned is as valid as ours. This is not a controversial thing to say.
First of all, I want to highlight, she speaks extremely clearly. She doesn't stutter. She doesn't mince around words. She doesn't take you on a journey like many politicians. Oh, let me be clear. And then they don't tell you anything. They just wind you down some story that I hear many politicians doing. She's concise and clear, which is a breath of fresh air when it comes to speaking in politics. Again, you might not agree with what she says. Fair enough. If you're on the left and she...
the sister's very articulate, and I can see why she could do a good job as speaking for the Conservative Party. I think usually with these kind of techniques, you can't really flaw, like highlighting ideas that many people are not best pleased with, and then using that as your kind of base. But I think there's the areas where we want to focus on was saying that reparations is a scam. So that's a very the other side. I don't know if he's going to cover that, but she said that, and that's a very this is a woman who's from Nigeria talking about something that's going to impact the Afro-Caribbean community as well as the Nigerian community, and she's saying it's a scam. So, and it's like the smoothness and the kindness it leaves her when she talks about these things. And once again, when she talks about Britain, it's quick things like, well, we got some things wrong, but we also ended slavery. And it's like, yes, I killed your family, but I also saved your uncle. It's like, yes, thank you for that, but still have to go to jail for killing the family.
She's on the right and that's opposing to your beliefs, fine. But that's a political issue. But she is clear about what she says and she's concise. And we should not spin her words. She didn't say people are inferior. She didn't say anyone was inferior. She said it's not valid. I don't want these values. She also mentioned that she grew up in a place.
Also, family, your views always be constructive, always welcome, and you're always welcome to jump on and give your opinions and stuff. We're just doing a case study of the sister Kemi Badenoch, but your opinions matter. So if you want to ever jump in, feel free. It's for all brothers and sisters to have a go.
Where people had the same skin color, but they didn't share the same cultural values. Let's just break into that for a second, for a little bit. Nigeria is a country of many tribes, the three main tribes, Hausa, Yoruba, and Igbo. I want to highlight for a moment some of the difficulties between those tribes. We had the Biafran War. I have family members that remember that time period, living memory, okay? So my uncle came to visit us in the UK when I was a teenager, and we went for a trip all around London to show him the sights and everything. Both my uncle and my dad have tribal marks on their face. Now, my dad's tribal marks are kind of not very prominent. You could look at him and you could miss it. But my uncle's ones are extremely visible, big scars on his cheeks. So I asked him, in the modern world, are you ever conscious about those marks and how people look at you and treat you? He said to me that I'm proud of my tribal marks, and these tribal marks saved my life. And I said, how did these tribal marks save your life? He said that around the period of the Biafran War, I don't know exactly the beginning or end or whatever was going on, he was in a part of Nigeria and he was friends with everybody. He didn't care whether you were Igbo, Hausa, whatever. And he was really into American culture and he wore a big afro. And the problem was that that was associated with a style of hair for Igbo people. At least this is what he told me at the time. It was the fashion of the time. So he was on this street and he was talking with his friends. Some of them were Igbo, some of them were Yoruba, and they were just like hanging out on the street. And the military arrived. And when the military arrived, they rounded up all of the Igbo people. And because of his hairstyle, he was grouped in with the Igbos. And they put all of them in a pit. And he was protesting, saying, why am I being put in the pit? And they said, because you're Igbo. And he said, no, I'm not Igbo. Look at my tribal marks. You can see by my tribal marks that I'm Yoruba. So they pull him out of the pit and they say, okay, your tribal marks show us that you're Yoruba. But because of your hairstyle, you're fraternizing, you're enjoying with these Igbo guys. So when my boss comes, when the Oga comes, he's going to lump you in with the Igbos because you're with them. So one of the soldiers there, before the main boss turned up, said, if you cut off your hair, it won't be an issue. Make sure you cut this hair off. But there was no scissors or anything around. So they broke a glass bottle and they scraped his hair bald with a glass bottle so that he wouldn't have to stay in the pit with the other Igbo guys. And everyone was held there. And when the boss came, when the Oga came, they burnt everyone in that pit alive. When I asked my uncle about the tribal marks, I was not expecting such a story. This is Nigerian history in living memory. This is conflict, intertribal conflict between black people of two different tribes in one country. Even though that they even shared a lot of cultural similarities, they found a way to find their differences. Now, there's lots of other factors involved, but my point is that when you go to Africa, there is tribalism, and it has nothing to do with skin color because everybody's black. And let's not forget things like the Rwanda genocide and all sorts of problems going on in South Sudan right now. And this is what she's talking about. She's talking about finding the values that the UK wants to represent and saying, if you don't have these values, you're not welcome here. Because it doesn't matter if there's an Asian person, a black person, a white person, a Hispanic person, if we all have shared values. If one set of that group thinks that child marriage at 12 is okay, then we're going to have a problem. So let's make sure we all have the same values and find the places that we can agree on. Now, if you say that she's not for Nigeria, what about her actions? Let's take a look.
The UK Minister of Business and Trade, Kemi Badenoch, says that the United Kingdom is committed to bridging the trade deficit in Nigeria through the enhanced trade partnership, which will be signed with her Nigerian counterpart in Abuja on Tuesday.
She was working on the trade deficit in Lagos, Nigeria. Why can't you claim her? She wasn't in Syria alone. She was in Nigeria. She's trying to help and make a deal in Lagos with Nigerians. This is her actions. I didn't hear anything about those actions.
She revealed this at the reception in her honor in Lagos. The ETP, she says, will also help build investor confidence in Nigeria. During the same event, the Nigerian Minister for Trade, Industry and Investment, Dr. Doris Uzokanite, said when she signed, the ETP will make Nigeria a more favorable partner to the United Kingdom.
So Nigerians don't want to claim her. So they don't want to claim her when she's trying to work on the Nigerian deficit. They don't want to claim her. What? Because she said that some cultures are less valid than others?
No, it's the reparations thing, brother.
Everyone's got a talking point and everyone's so ready to be offended. And coming up in the next clip is something that many people are not going to agree with. Here's probably the most controversial take that I've heard people talking about when they criticize her and not being able to claim her as black or Nigerian.
There are many things that the British Empire got wrong, but there are many amazing things that the British Empire also did. And we need to be honest about that and stop pretending that it was all bad. The British Empire ended slavery, the Atlantic slave trade. We need to...
Even that narrative is enough. Like I said, that's why we should have mandatory Martha training, just amongst ourselves in our Instagram, in our just the narratives of what people went through, the massacre, like even like Congo and Leopold, the sheer numbers, just Brazil, from to Haiti to whatever, Jamaica, Americas. Like, I think we have to use certain. I know certain words you can't use because the algorithm stops you, but it's mass genocide, mass sexual assault, mass deportation, mass brainwashing, mass everything in mass, and when you allow a person to skip past because he did some bad things, terrible time, but we did some good things. It's yeah, and that's why I've noticed as well, like the lack of sensitivity to extreme things, and this comes from the Europeans when I asked them about reparations when they've married a black woman or a black man, and how they're angry, they're defensive, they say you need to go and talk to the Africans, leave us alone, right? And then obviously there's the black people who represent the best interests of the same thing, right? They skip past it. It happened what it is. These are things that we have to be aware of. That's why you have to teach. So you're aware. No. And we have to have better work. Like, once again, this argument will never work for Jewish Holocaust. Never work. But for black people, people die what it is. And that's why I said, this despised and disorganized. See, the double dilemma. You're seeing it here, and we don't know to do it because we're so used to saying, let people talk that way. But no other people will let you talk about their genocide, which was nowhere near the level of what black people have gone through.
To talk about that more. I grew up, as many of you know, I grew up in a Commonwealth country. Many people in those countries don't actually carry the baggage that a lot of the left-leaning commentariat want to put on our country. We need to look at how we can help other countries develop as best as they can. We did a lot to help many of those countries. We can do more again. I would like to see that. But the answer is definitely not reparations.
The Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting starts next week. Should we be embarrassed about our colonial past?
No. We don't need to be embarrassed about our colonial past. Every country in the world.
So remember, I'm going to try to give you exercises because you got to understand the hatred for black people is so intense, so extreme, that even us, once again, the post-traumatic slave syndrome that the sister was talking about earlier in the topic, we can just ignore certain kind of concepts, right, easily. So the method I would give is swap black with someone else, another technique. So the gentleman asked this lady, should we be embarrassed of the colonialism and what happened from it, right? And she said, no, of course not. Best thing to do is switch over with, say, well, if I was a Jewish person, if I was a German person, should I be embarrassed about the Nazi past? And they go, no, because the truth is, he did a lot of good things. He did, he built the country. They were one of the poorest after the First World War, and he brought it back. They innovated many technologies and techniques throughout the war. They made fashion centers and all this kind of great stuff. Blah 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 blah. But once again, if you've been saying about Nazism, it's a problem. It's what this is anti-Semitic, whatever it is. But you're not anti-black when you say that colonialism, from the context of being black and not being best pleased with it, is a problem. And naturally, this is the same equivalent of having a Jewish woman jump on stage and say, Nazis weren't that bad. The Second World War and the camps and all that, happens. At the end of the day, the Hitler he boosted the GDP of the country. He got things back to how they should have been. So it wasn't all that bad. That's the same equivalent. But once again, we don't really think that way. That's why I always use other people's plight to reference ours and go, and then you realize actually ours was 20 times worse, but we're 20 times less interested in even remembering. That's why we have a concept called ancestral obligations. You see, people ask me, Raven, Why don't you kick down the door and marry a white woman? Apart from the fact that black women are extremely beautiful, well, because I practice ancestral obligations. I remember what my ancestors went through, and if I was them, I would be rolling in my grave 20 times thinking that my children, whatever, rather than fixing the community and marrying their own people, they're marrying the descendants of the people who did this to me, and those people themselves don't even care because they're on TV compromising black people who talk in their behalf to undermine the importance that black people need to do. Rant over.
At one point or another, either colonized or attempted to colonize another group of people. This is the past. We need to talk about the future. There are many.
Sammy's saying, you know, yes, my uncle sexually assaulted those 3 women, but other people sexually assault 3 women. We have to move on. This is the past. No, you have to give justice to those who were abused.
Countries now who want to use guilt to try and exploit the UK. They ask for reparations. I saw it as a trade minister. It's not culture wars. I was at the WTO. I won't name the minister from another country, and he was telling me that we needed to give up some of the things that we were doing because of colonialism and because they needed time to develop. These arguments are a scam. Don't fall.
Remember the word scam? So reparations is a scam. The former colonized countries are saying that, you know, you've paid us nothing. Yeah, when the Jewish people were mistreated by Hitler and these kinds of stuff, they were paying reparations. Remember, when they stopped enslavement, they paid the enslavers, not the enslaved. You see, and this was up until 2015. Yeah, all these facts are important. Now, I'm not saying I'm here to convince non-black people or unsynchronized black people the plight of black people. This has never been my goal. The goal is to have concepts and truths to synchronize black people. To go, you know what? I know that you're on a kumbaya train and you feel good doing it, but you have to accept that we're inadequate and we have no friends. And once you accept that, right, then you can start working towards bettering ourselves. And we have a pre-made package concept known as Black Betterment, which is black first in all things. And if you do that, you'll be part of the process of improving. Hence why we do it. You see? I don't ever get into arguments with people saying we were kings and queens. I don't go down that road. I say we have no friends. And if you don't believe me, ask your best friend who you're trying to marry their views on reparations.
Hi, Reverend.
What's up, good brother? Tell me.
No, this is amazing. I just feel like I can just feel the generational trauma, and I don't know if it's curses real or generational trauma or whatever was going on in our community. I just feel like it is real, and that's why I just feel like I break the generational curse. I just feel like it's within. I just feel it, and it's going on to generation to generation. You know, generational curse. It's just real.
Very true. This is what it is if you have like some chaotic surroundings and you learn it, you will pass that down, and then, you know, people might get in high places. They might become politicians, or they might become musicians, or they might become some type of issue, and people observe that, and then we culturalize painful practices. And that's why being very deliberate is important. That's why being very tangible, very direct. It's like, we want to fix these things. So we're going to look at all the things that corrupt that, and we're going to try to stay away from that and try to do constructive things that benefit this group. We're going to identify and operate as a group, and we're going to do things best for that group. You see?
Yeah.
So if you can do that, then you can be very deliberate. If we realize that we are unhealthy, then we go, what is healthy? How can we be healthy? And we have scholars who understand about the dietary, the drinking, and the training, and why we have to be very aware about blood sugars and high salt and blood pressure, because this affects us at the high levels. I also have to be aware about the family structure breaking down. So we have to have a tactic of how to fix that. How do we fix that? We have to have the media team, the marketing team, and all the celebrities become a constructive and find a constructive black woman a thing to be. Like, when you're doing that, you have achieved, you know. And it's like trying to fix people to get that. It's all holistic. It all happens as a connecting the dots process, but it starts here on this broadcast and teaching the concept of B1 Black Betterment, Black people, Black issues.
Yes.
Be consistent. There you go, family.
For it, we need to make sure that we put this country first. We work well with our neighbors, we work well with other countries, but we have to look after ourselves too.
I'd like to highlight a couple of things, if you'd be so kind as to hear my point of view. The first thing is, at the beginning of the conversation, she acknowledged that the British had done bad things. And I appreciate people that can acknowledge bad things, even when their point of view may not be favorable. When it comes to these deeply painful matters, such as slavery, I'm happy to have the conversation about how bad it was, all the problems that that's caused. I'm happy to look with a critical eye, with a objective view on the damage that that caused. That is a valid.
The damage that caused is what you just complained about in the beginning of the video, where you talk about the flickering lights, the corruption, the tribal wars. This is a stable country that was named not too long ago by the Europeans, right? Where all the ethnic groups were forced together under their the lines that they carved, and they left without fixing the challenges that they brought.
Valid thing to talk about and a valid thing to be discussed. And if people,
this is the byproduct of being colonized.
People are angry about it, that's fine. The question is, how should we handle it moving forward? Again, that would be.
Well, we've really put down reparations, you see. This is why it's troubling people that she's speaking against it. And once again, it's this concept of saying something that's very devastating and go, yeah, but let's move on. You see? And this is what acknowledgement. And that's why every time this black sister here and some other brothers and other people talk about reparations and the death of Africans and black people worldwide, go, stop, just so you know, I'm going to say the same thing about the Jewish Holocaust. Let's see how you feel inside, because we know that you don't feel inside for black people because we've been collectively oppressed and propaganda has made people hate us. That's fine. But let's now use other people, because this is the like example we're giving. And if we said, yes, I acknowledge that the Holocaust was bad, but it happened then, let's move on. Let's see how they like that kind of narrative.
The reparations versus not reparations argument. She's speaking from a British point of view. Nigerians in Nigeria are not crying about slavery. That's not a major talking point or a major issue, because if it didn't affect them in the way that it affected African Americans. Black British have had a much better time integrating with whites.
They seem to ignore the first group that came to the UK, the Afro-Caribbean community, and how enslavement devastated those nations. Maybe he'll come to it in a bit.
In Britain, though it's not been perfect, and though it has been negative at many junctures.
And this is something we get a lot. Although it hasn't been perfect, although there was much killing, although when you first came over, you had to live in these areas and they used to beat you down and whatever. And then they're going to say something. This is the luxury that, and so this is important now. We're going to juxtapose this. So when I talk to Europeans, especially those who marry black women and black men, when I ask about reparations, they jump in straight away. How dare you? How dare you? And I'm talking about the European German is defending the Norwegian. The Norwegian is defending the Irish. The Irish is defending the Scottish. They're on code, even though they've married a black woman or a black man, and they're getting their money through this process, whatever. But they're literally on code like that. So even though they've married this European, they've got so-called mixed black kids or whatever it is. They've got this concept. They're dealing with it. They never give down this authority, this kind of dedication to the economic power of Europe. But now with black people, it's like, we were beaten down. We came in, people chased us with sticks. And this is what we have to deal with, you see. And that's why we need all the scholars and all our people like yourselves, the important part of the community, to work on those brand and these problems. What I'm working with now is try to juxtapose your pain versus someone who they care about, because they don't care about black people, and you'll see the stop. So I'm saying Jewish people, I'm saying any other group that's being marginalized who are not black. We can't use black people because they won't care. And then they'll stop and they go, well, hold on. How come it's okay for the Jewish person? Because, the Jewish people, they're what this amount of people were killed there, but black people was 20 times more than that. And we lost our language, our culture, our borders, whatever. You gained one. So what's going on there? There's techniques to try.
But it's not on the same level as what went on in America.
Very good. Slavery and colonization is identical. We have a term, the Ma'afa, and that integrates every single form of black anti-destructive concept all in one. So when you're dealing with apartheid, slavery, genocide, mass killings, corruption, proxy wars, Jim Crow, uh, uh, being chased with sticks, whatever. It's all one thing. Being hated because you were black, right? Very particular thing. You will see the Negro, the person of African blood. A revolution culture is needed, 100%. Big up all the family there. This is Isa and also Sister Lauren. I think it's SKD Lauren. Big up. And but yes, a revolution culture is needed. That is, if you didn't know family, that's what this is. So for those who are new, those who, because sometimes these topics we get passionate and we start speaking, which is good. This is the Black Betterment Broadcast, and this broadcast teaches a lifestyle called Black Betterment. Now, for over a couple of years now, probably 10 years, myself and other community members have tried to pen a tangible way of living that can maximize a betterment for our community. And there's strategies. And one of the strategies is identifying that not everyone at first is going to jump on. So you have to have your two types of people, you see. So you have the person who are going to work together to actually fix this problem. We want them to know they're important. These are the important members of the community. And then there are those who are not going to do it. They might talk against it, like some of the sisters you're hearing in the video. Well, these are just the love members. So we love them, but they're not important because they're not doing important work. And that's why it's important to establish who is important. And hopefully this broadcast highlights who is important, who actually wants to do the work to fix the issue. This gentleman, I give him 10 points because he's a Nigerian-born UK person, and he's moved back to Africa, I think East Africa. It would be good if he fixed Nigeria, but I suspect he might do that, but I don't know. He's met an African woman, 10 points for that. He's got a business of, I think, fashion and the YouTube based in Africa, 10 points. These politics are a bit different. I think he's very harsh towards his country of Nigeria, but once again, he has grown up there. He has seen some of the horrors that has gone in there. He does not blame any outside force at all. Maybe this is a psychological strategy that he has, accountability of some form, but I feel that isn't correct. I feel you have two ways of dealing with it. There's the double dilemma, being despised and disorganized. He needs that there, the double dilemma. If you know that, you'll keep. But let's listen to the last few minutes and then we'll end the show. But by all means, any questions, jump in. But you guys are part of the solution.
And it's not on the same level as what went on in South Africa. So when she says a lot of the countries we're talking about don't carry the same baggage that the leftists say, she's saying that there is not an outcry of 10 million people in the UK like there is in America who have been damaged by the slave trade in the same way.
Once again, the brother might not be aware, and maybe he's just speaking for Nigerians or Africans. I'm not too sure. First of all, and that's another thing, where you've got a view, you see, what happens, I accept that, and I think it's necessary, as we play Claude Anderson, that, first of all, I say this, all black people are black people, but I recognize that they're different ethnic groups, right? And the ethnogenesis of the Caribbean, I acknowledge and respect, as in a new people were formed based upon culture separation, that are distinct in their norms because of where their location for many years. But the fact of the matter is, people were taken from another land. So that already is the problem. You see, it's just like if you imagine Jamaica today and someone going to Jamaica and taking 50% of the people from there, the Jamaicans just can't just say, oh, well, they're not Jamaican anymore. They're not, well, it's not my issue anymore, is it? You've still devastated Jamaica. So by kidnapping the warrior class and some of the other class from a land and then removing them to another country, you've affected that land already, you see? So this is sometimes because we get wrapped up in the ethnogenesis of Afro-Jamaican and Yoruba, we don't think, well, actually, you're from there, or you have your lineage there, and that devastated there and also devastated here. So that's why we have to have that kind of collective mentality. I respect the individual ethnic groups and what we have to do, 10 points, but there is a collectivism that makes sense when it comes to making certain kinds of claims. So certain kinds of claims, it makes sense for ethnogenic claims. Like this is an ethnic group, they want that, and some, this is a black claim. And when best to use that is what Black Betterment hopefully can do. Let's carry on listening.
That the leftists would frame it from an African-American point of view. Now, there are many Afro-Caribbeans in the UK that have the legacy of slavery. much of the black population in the UK is made of Africans. Now,
that is not correct if you look at all black people as African, but I don't think he does. If the Afro-Caribbean was the first here, and maybe he's because many Afro-Caribbeans are not marrying black women, and maybe he's seen as a different group. I don't know, but the Afro-Caribbean number is still very high. We've got the sheets here somewhere.
Africa was subject to colonialism and slavery. It was terrible. My solution is that I moved to Africa.
The thing is, it was terrible, and then there's no resolve. So I'm saying, yes, all your family were murdered. It was bad. It was bad. But you know, we like eating cheesecake. It's like, whoa, what cheesecake's fine, but what are you going to talk about the murders? I'm just going to eat cheesecake now, and that's what once again, the European man in the forums, when you ask for reparations, they are very particular. We are giving you nothing. If you want money, go to Africa. They sold you, right? And matter of fact, you need to pay us reparations. They all say it. They're all on code, but we're not on code. For us, it's happen. Let's eat cheesecake.
Africa to invest my time and energy in the continent. That's been my solution. That's my personal.
And 10 points to the brother. He's there doing the work. He's married to a black sister, African sister, and he's doing creative work. If I met the man, I'll shake his hand. But this politics, I suspect I have a different opinion.
Solution. I don't know what the solution is on the governmental level. I have very little trust for politicians. I think they lie a lot. At the very least, young black people in the UK will switch on their TVs and realize that they can ride to the height of politics in the UK with their
at what cost?
Braided hair and their black skin.
And I get that entry level where it's like, and this was the whole Obama thing and Kamala thing as well. Like, it's good to see black people in high places, but our ancestors or our elders and Black Bear teaches us that. And Claude Anderson, we played the video. We shall play it maybe one time, maybe. Let's play it one more time. No, let me play the end of it now.
And if they want to go and lobby for reparations, they can. There's a path to go and do it. Because there's already someone there showing you that they've done it and it's possible. I don't support all of her policies. I don't agree with everything she says. Is that a reason for us to say that we can't claim her? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think she deserves African support and black support, pushing emotion to the side and saying, I don't agree with this policy or that policy. But you know what? I'm Nigerian, she's Nigerian, and she showed other Nigerians that she could do it as well. Thank you so much for watching.
So big up the brother, that's his wife there, it looks like. Big up his family. You always have to big up a brother who marries a black woman. I think that's his shop in Africa. So once again, I can't fool the brother if that's what he's doing. There's him with his family. That's the networking over there. So yeah, I big up the brother. I can't say, you know, it's always good to see brothers doing the work, and I disagree with his politics on that one, but I do respect the fact that he's trying to he realizes his sister, and he wants to look at it from the standpoint of she's successful, and we can see it from that angle. Apart from that question is actually though, how easy is it to be successful if you disconnect from all kind of important matters that affects your nation or your people? Very tricky one. Very tricky one. But big up the brother there. Anyway, what we're going to do before we're going to play the whole political thing from Claude Anderson one more time.
I used to be the planner of Democratic conventions and stuff in '88, and also the consultant in '92. And I've always been a Democrat, but now I'm an independent. There's a new day in America. Said we don't give a darn about any party. It said any candidate, black, white, polka dot, stripe, chartreuse, green, anything. Tell them the only people we're going to support and the only party we're going to support are those people who will promise the most and deliver to black folk. And we don't care what party you belong to. And once you start doing that, big money. Once you start playing that game and say we're outside, so now and say we're going to vote as a block. We're going to vote as a solid block only for those who would deliver for us. Only for those who put on the platform something about black reparations. If you don't put anything, you're not going to get our vote.
So the master teacher there, he's done the work. He's got Powernomics and stuff. You can go buy his book. This is important. He's giving you a code. Very important. How to vote as a block and how to have loyalty to those who who have policies for you particularly. Unfortunately, Kamala did say out loud she will never do anything particularly for the African American community or the Black community, and that might have worked against her. While people would rather vote for a racist comedic kind of persona in the Trump campaign than actual woman who's actually of African descent, Black descent. And it would have been good if she actually said that. But once again, it might be challenging for Black people to go in political spaces and say anything constructive for people. And I guess we have to unpack the political side. Some people say having like like a pack, or you have a collective lobby that raises money to give to, and this is what Clohanza says in Power Knowledge as well. You have to pay them. You have to pay the politicians to do what you want. So that's a strategy. But once again, this is just for you guys who are into politics to really study and come back and give us the lowdown. Like I said, everything to do with Black Batman we cover here, but we definitely need people who specialize in certain things. And we ask that you're synchronized with Black people, meaning you want what's collectively best for Black people. So before we leave, we've got 10 minutes left. Now, keep in mind, if anyone's in there, feel free to ask questions, jump in. This is your time. Do not think this is my time. I'm merely the host to host what is needed for the community. And we can set up shows just for the needs of what you need. But we primarily teach the ideology of Black betterment, because our understanding is that if we can teach the culture of Black people helping Black people, we will, by osmosis, by default, by just sheer will, we will actually look for challenges and fix them, having a B1 mentality. But we do promote certain things, and that is the triple triumph. And what is that family? That's Black families, Black economics, and Black health. And last week we were talking about the concept, for those who missed last week, we were talking about what if we put those three things, Black families, Black health, and Black economics, and we made that like a thing that people do, and we called that thing Malengo, which means goal in Swahili, if you didn't know. And it's like if everyone had this Malengo, these goals, because obviously, what is the three most important things? We would argue that Black health, Black family, and Black economics. These are self-sustaining stuff that we all would need everywhere we go. So we can shrink its concept into Malengo, that even if you identify as whatever Black Batman or not, whatever it is, this could be like a goal that's in the back of your mind where you're trying to fix these three things. Start a constructive Black family, start a constructive Black business, or work for constructive Black business, or patronize a consistent Black business, or try to be healthy, promote health, or try to eat healthily, drink and jog and all that good stuff. Basic stuff, really. But make that into a thing. So when you're talking to your friends, I'm on my Malengo, all that good stuff. Blah, 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 blah. Matter of fact, I should really just show the pictures and stuff. So then Malengo, boom, boom, boom. I thought, So I'm on my Malengo, you see? So, family, I do have to go to bed because I've got to do some stuff in the morning. I've got to go jog in the morning because I'm on my Malengo. There you go. What's that? Yeah, Black health. Hey, let's make sure. So I'm going to go jogging early tomorrow.
Amazing.
There you go. As we should be doing. We want to get, I forgot they said it's like an hour or 3 hours worth of exercise a week, I think. Let me get the facts on that because I've got sheets, but we can get it right. But I go jogging every 3-4 days or whatever. But Black health, there you go. Train and exercise regularly. Eat a healthy plant-based diet if possible, with low sodium and sugar. Drink plenty of water, and watch your Watch your stress levels. It's very important. That's a key one.
Mm-hmm.
But also Black economics. I myself, I try to teach. I do a lot of pro bono work for Africa and the Caribbean. I help brothers and sisters with CVs, as well as starting a business with a couple of brothers that's Black focused, and obviously Black families. Focus on helping be supportive of your own family, the one you come from, but be ready to start your own family, be constructive with a Black man, a Black woman of the opposite gender, the good stuff. This is on what we call your Malengo. So we're going to push that. I'm going to mark it up a bit better, wherever it is. Mandatory goals, you see. Maybe it's not mandatory, but Malengo, that's what we promote. So, family, we're going to go. But any last words from our fantastic guest, Brother Leon, that you like to say? Any kind of last words?
I just feel like I feel like it's going to be hard for some other Black people to move forward. You know what I mean? Like, the most thing I learned is about Sankofa. That really touches my soul. Like, even I started to heal myself, and I started to study myself, go back to the past, and kind of like move forward and better to the better future. But I feel like it's I feel like it's hard for some of us to move forward. And what
Yes.
do you think?
I think what you're saying is very correct. And it's good that you talk about Sanko for looking back to prepare for the future, remember what happened before so we don't repeat it. Very important. What I would say though is some people might not. We've got these phases, isn't it? So what we're saying for those who are joining now, this is what we call the three eyes of innovation. You see, the Black Betterment lifestyle version, the fusion of innovation, aka the three eyes of innovation. And what that is actually every single idea in the world starts with a small amount, right? This is a market research of how they do it. And what those usually are the 2.5% inventors. So in this group here, as we're discussing ways to live, we could be seen as those innovators, not inventors, so innovators, right? A person who introduces new methods and ideas to products, right? That's what we're doing, right? And what we're trying to do is we're trying to influence the 22% of influencers, a person with ability to influence by promoting on their social media or any other kind of platform, living families or anything, right? So the idea is rather than focus on how many people don't do something, it's find on people who do something and work how to maximize with them and have influence on others. Once you influence the influencers and they do that, right? We call that the open door elite or the critical mass, 25%. Once you do that, you'll get people who imitate. So right now, what's happening is brothers and sisters are imitating ideas that don't work in their best interest. We saw the brothers, some brothers talking about how many black men might marry white women to live without paying. So they're imitating that. They're seeing that's the easy way. We have to reverse that, and you have to have influence. So they follow the influencers or the innovators. And what happens is by osmosis, they'll just behave in that way. You see? So that's how you change. You start with the 2.5, which is everyone on this panel. You're important, you see, because I come from a speaker's corner community, which is a very slapdash, everyone shouts, throwing chairs at each other place. And that's very alluring for them. They love that kind of pro wrestling kind of mentality. But this is a bit different. This is more constructive. This is, unfortunately, the speakers corner community, many of them struggle to say, I love black people, I want to help black people, because they're too integrated in the daughters of Europeans or something like this, right? So they can't say it, but this here we can say we're very purposeful. We love black people, we want to fix black issues. So if you're here because there's a constructive concept that you guys are tapping into, and every question you ask, every information you give, we utilize and we try to put into the lifestyle and make it more appealing. And you guys are part of it. So you guys are part of that 2.5%. So, brother, to answer your question before we go, this is what you do. You network with people who are about that life, about that black Betterment, and then we will find solutions to influence the 22% influencers, and they will then influence those who seem to keep struggling, because they will make what we're saying more appealing. They'll have the branding, the sing songs, the dancing, the books, the Instagram. They'll make helping black people fun again, cool again. We're just here inventing it, but they're gonna make it that way. And so that's what we're doing. But brother, thank you for your final question.
No problem.
And hopefully we'll see you week to week. You're a very important contributor. And thanks for reminding me my microphone was off. And big up to everyone listening. We want to big up, let's do a quick run. Big up Kane Black, Easy Herbs, Sister Laura, Lauren, Brother Dominic, On Code, important, Empress Kush, Simon Harrison, Kushti, we've mentioned again, Brother Leon, and everyone who's secretly in the background, the people who listen in future time. Okay, everybody saying this, for everyone who works with black and Brother Kane as well, everyone who works with black people and tries to help our community, know you are important, know you're doing important work. And for those who don't, know you are loved, and the important people are working to help you. There you go. So until next week, Black Betterment to all, and to all Black Betterment. You're important. All right, let's go. Go, 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 go. Peace.